Okay then. Hello, hello, hello. 31 in the building. Let's run that like button up straight away. Let me know who's here. We're going to go through the chat to begin with. Bear with me a bit today. Feeling a little bit ill, so a little bit slow to talk. If it sounds like I'm running out of breath, probably because I am. But yeah, I wanted to get a stream done either way. And I've also got an Estevao video coming out later today. So that's all good. Kaz was first again to the stream. Might be on a streak at the minute. I'm not even sure how many. But yes, I was late to my own stream, unfortunately. We were technically what? So we were 8 minutes late to begin, but technically I start and you usually do like the 5-minute intro sort of thing. So I was probably about 3 minutes late. Hello, you've become what you swore to destroy. Who else? We've got Reese. Hello, Connor. Nice catching up with you yesterday on Playback. Top man. Yes, it was very nice to have you on, Reese. For those that are here, I'll link again to the Playback now. We sort of did the first trial run of the stream yesterday, and it worked out fairly well, I'd say, in terms of, again, obviously not as many sort of people involved, but if eventually we can get as many people involved in those streams as possible, we can bring people up to stream, we can answer the questions that people have. You missed the Playback, Kaz. We're probably going to do one today, again, a little bit later on, once I've got the, what do we call it? Once I got my Estevao video sort of edited and done. Just call me something else. My name's long for no reason. Should I just call you Destroy? Feels like the easiest thing. Last thing of the name. I am back. What's up, Tactic Evolution? Would you sell Estevao for £100 million? No. I know you said it's a joke, but it probably would be silly not to. Actually, it kind of isn't really, but no. But another thing, lads. What do you think of the tactics board? What do you think of the new tactics board we're going to be using? I'm going to link it. It's the JLA tactics board. If you guys know James Alcott in the community, this is his tactics board that he's developed, which is unbelievable. I've been using it. Luckily, I've been lucky enough to be using it behind the scenes anyway, for some sort of work that I do for the Substack that I'm involved with him. Let's go, Tactic. Let's go. Where's Simmons? I can bring him in. I can make him. So this is what's so easy about this. So I can literally just go Simmons. Bang. Brings him in. We can get him involved as and when we please. Whoa, this looks different. It looks good. Yes, it's very good. It's very, very good. I will link the tactics board because it's something you can use, but it's also you can buy sort of different plans for it if you want to sort of get like this is like the fully immersive, like this board better. The other one always lagged. Yeah, so this should be fun. This should be good to use. Here's the tactics board. If anybody wants to, I'll put it in the description as well, and it will be in the description of my Estevao video as well. So again, if anybody wants to check it out, please do, because it is unbelievable. Like I say, I've been lucky enough to be using it for a while, and I just love some of the tools. Like one of my favorite is the field of view. Like this, I love this. This is like one of my favorite things in terms of when we're talking about players being pressed and what they can see, sort of thing. And again, like all this sort of like you can sort of target lines. There's so much to it. I love it. I really do. In terms of vectors, if we're talking about sort of making a box midfield, very easy, very, very easy. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Better, looks solid. So yeah, I'll leave that up for a bit. Enzo Palmer in the same midfield isn't ideal off the ball. Thoughts? We saw it last season where it can work in this sense, like sort of like this in a 4-1-4-1. With Fernandes and Palmer sort of pressing that central line. That's my fault. I was rushing to get it sorted, Joel. So I literally just put them in the wrong places. My bad. Good shout from you though. So yeah, how's everybody doing? What questions have we got today? We'll start off with a little Q&A, little 10 minutes, go through a few questions in the chat. And then we're going to talk about Estevao a bit more. How excited was everybody after seeing those Estevao pictures yesterday? Because for me, it's just got me so excited for the friendlies coming up. So gassed. So also, I think this is the default shape and formation to start the season. What sort of like this with Fernandes here, Palmer. So you think Gittins will start the season with Estevao? Or do you just think the shape? What was I going to say? By the way, we've got 51 people in the building. So can we run up that like button as quick as possible? Because the more likes we get on this sort of section of the video, the better this video does. And all of my streams have been getting over 1,000 views, and we've been trying to get over 100 likes. So please, 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 the 4-2-3-1 formation, yes. Santos, I think he's on the bench side, but we'll have a look. Please, please drop the a like. The a like. Doesn't really work. Really want to see the trainer videos. Yeah, we'll probably get a few more, won't we? Like, oh, honestly, 2 days away. So the idea for the content this week is as follows. Stream today. You are now a part of that, so congratulations. Tomorrow, later today, Estevao video. Estevao specific video. So keep your eye out for that, because I'm very, very excited about that. So that's today. Stream and Estevao video. Tomorrow is the 3 tactics Enzo Maresca could use video. So again, quite a fun one. Also, if you missed yesterday's video, done very, very well so far, but I'm really, really happy with it. Basically talking about the squad and how Maresca is the master of rotation. So go and check that one out, because that's doing really, really well. And then Friday we will have a stream for the it will be like a preview stream for the Leverkusen game. So then we're back into the action. Then we are back into the action from there. Seb, honestly, I'm not 100% sure at this point, but yes, very possibly. Of course, last season we did it in a different way. There was a point last season against Palace where we were dropping Casado into the back line. Because what we was doing against them, if I remember correctly, is it was who was it? I believe it was Gusto at right back. So Gusto was pushing up into here. Fofana was spreading over to here. Casado was there, and then we sort of had. So who would that have been in the middle? I think it would have actually been like this. Is sort of what we was doing against Palace last year, where we had this sort of back line like this. Against that sort of 3-man press from Palace. Let's go. You love the video on Maresca. I'm very glad. I was happy with it. I was happy with how it came out. But this could be the case, Seb. We'll when we get to that first game of the season, we'll have loads of proper sort of preview for that game. It's just I need to sort of do the research beforehand just to see what I think we might do. So I don't want to give a disingenuous answer right now. This is all messed up now because we was trying to put them into an information. There we go. Let me just quickly go back and see what we had. I think I stopped here. How much do you want for Nico? I'd only sell for 60, 65. Yeah, I mean, I want 60 plus minimum, really. Like, I wouldn't sell for less than 60. Yeah, I'm not too keen on him going. I think if some people have seen my tweets about it, I would have kept him. I think it would have been good to have another runner in that front line. Of course, Garnacho could join, so that could be something. And yeah, by the way, whoever said Santos, he's here. Just saw him in the corner of my eye there, so I had to put it out. If we sell Jackson, do you reckon we'll maybe get another striker? No, I think Garnacho, I think they'd honestly roll with it because I think they'd be looking at maybe Omega next season. That's the only thing that makes some sense to me is if you sell Jackson now, Omega is a very similar type to Jackson, and he could then come in and be that third choice striker next year and even challenge as like sort of that type of striker. But it does leave us maybe a little bit short this season if somebody goes down injured. Because it's not even just if a striker gets injured, right? Because let's say Palmer gets injured, God forbid. Yes, you've then got Simmons in there, but then maybe João Pedro has to sort of play a little bit more in here or a little bit more out there. And then all of a sudden you're only really relying on the lap. And then if one of those two gets injured, like I say, if I mean, it's really bad if one of the strikers gets injured because then you're relying on purely one striker, and it would be on somebody like Neto to be coming from the bench and sort of doing that stuff. So yeah. We said that. I haven't tried the multi-stream feature for Playback with YouTube. The only reason I don't, I feel like with Playback, the whole idea of Playback is getting people on stage and talking and sort of doing all that stuff. On YouTube, I feel like the platforms don't mix too well. I might be wrong. Some people might be using it in an effective way, like using it as sort of like a panel and like maybe doing it like that. For me and the content that I produce, I think it's better to keep them separate and do like playbacks separately so that we can get a different community on there, get all of you guys over to there as well. We can ask questions and do all that stuff. I feel like it's maybe a little bit better to do it separately. I might be wrong about that, and maybe in the future we revise that, but that's sort of where I'm at the minute. Millions of people call you the next biggest thing since Neymar is immense pressure for any teenager. I thought you was about me there. Next best thing since Neymar. Still learning English in a new country. Really hope we take it easy on him. That's what we're going to be talking about in the video out later today, Enoch, and how to sort of ease him in, how to use him this year. Yeah, spoke about that. Estevao. Do you think Simmons could play in the pivot with Casado instead of Enzo? I don't think in the pivot. I think what you could maybe see at one point is like this, is where you basically play 2 number 8s. So it's Casado is essentially in the pivot on his own, but you're essentially like these 2 players can cover in here, where like off the ball, and then Simmons and Palmer have enough of a job to sort of get back as well. So that is a terrible arrow. I can just use these arrows, by the way. It is very easy to do, but I'll just get into a habit at the minute of what do you call it, using the pen, because that's what I did on my other tactics board. But there's so much to use on this one that eventually we'll get into it properly and use all the tools that we can. Because I mean, it's the amount of times I've had to draw the boxes, but like now I can literally just sort of drag one of those over. Same with vertical section if I want to do like a channel. Sort of talk about this channel here. Very, very easy to do. Yes, reckon Jackson will leave and they will replace him with a young third choice striker late in the window. I don't think they will. Just maybe they use Shim a bit, but maybe. I think it's even more interesting with Giyu going, but yeah, we'll have to see. I think Hater will play a lot more this season than people think this season. Yeah, like I said, I think there's opportunities to play him in multiple roles as well. Like obviously the Kukurea role is the main one, and to rest Kukurea, so that's a huge thing. But I also think there's times where you could play him alongside Colwell if you're playing against like a back 5 and you're trying to be really aggressive with how they step into the midfield. Hato can do that, so it depends. Luke Mudway, big up. Is Lavia injured or in training? I'm not actually sure. I haven't seen him in any of the pictures yet. I don't think we'd replace him this season. I think destroy. I think we'd maybe go for a mega next season. Palmer, Enzo, Simmons together in first 11 is off balance. Those 3 can exist together. The 3 that people aren't going to like, that I don't think exist completely together. Now, it's not to say that they can't play together, but can you guess the 3 players that I'm going to say? Again, can't exist, because I think they're inevitably we will see them on the pitch at one point or another, all 3 of them. But in the same way that I said it about Nkunku last season and sort of getting players into the same team, because a lot of people wanted Nkunku, Felix, and Palmer. There is 3 players that I think, and there's 2 players that I think are going to be fighting it out against each other a lot this season. Like, yeah. I'll see if anybody guesses it, and then I'll go into it. How do you think Garnacho and Simmons affect Paez? Garnacho doesn't affect Paez for me. Simmons partly, but I think Paez is at an age and sort of a point where he can still challenge for that Enzo, like alongside Simmons, even in that right half space, which again, because he's a left footer, I think they'll be fine. I do. Get Vardy in as a third choice. Wow. Okay, let's get to the... Sorry, I'm going to have to come off of... I'm going to stop reading all the top ones because I've asked a question, so I'm going to go down to the question bit. Warrior says, what's up, Con? Big up, let's go. Warrior, good to have you in the chat. Vi, you haven't missed too much. A lot, just a sort of questiony bit for the first 15 minutes. We're going to be getting into a bit more Estevao stuff. We've got nearly 70 people in the chat, and we've only got 28 likes. Can we run that up to over 50 in the next 30 seconds? Please, if you haven't dropped a like already, all it takes, one quick like, and it really helps me out. So please drop a like. And we're going to go through this question that I just asked. Which 3 players do I not think will exist too much in the same 11? Now, again, this does not mean the first time you see them together that everybody comes to me and says, look, they can coexist, because I'm not saying they can't. There will be games where it happens. But I think for balance, there's a difference. Right, let's see. Estevao, Palmer, Simmons. Estevao, Palmer, Simmons. Enzo, Lavia, Simmons. Enzo, Casado, Simmons. Estevao needs to work on his work rate, tracking back. Estevao, Palmer, Simmons. I also like that guess. Enzo, Casado, Santos. Yeah, Estevao, Palmer, Simmons, too much players who want to create. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got it. I'm assuming everybody's watched my video from yesterday. But yes. Yeah, it is Chilwell, Disasi, and Nkunku. Of course it isn't. It is bang. Estevao, Palmer, Simmons. Now, I'll tell you why. Essentially, I think all three of them want to be primary attackers. I think they want to be the primary or the secondary creator in the team. Now, let's put this back. Let's put it into if you was to have all three playing. Now, where it could work is if Enzo isn't playing. But that would be extremely off balance off the ball. Imbalanced off the ball. So let's say that we started somewhat like this, and people are saying, oh, imagine a front three of Simmons on the left, Palmer in the middle, Estevao on the right. This, especially with Fernandez, but even more so, there's so many players that want to be that link, that primary creator. Palmer, again, game sort of, it goes around Palmer. He's your main man. The attack, all roads lead to Palmer. He is that guy. Now, your secondary creator, again, in this sort of system with how we're looking at playing next year, maybe with two players in the pockets, your secondary would be Simmons. Okay, in here. Now, so yeah, Palmer, Simmons. At that point, I think Estevao, he has to then be something that, again, he can do it, but he has to be something that he's not naturally, where he can sort of attack the box more often, but stay away from the ball. It's not that he can't attack the box and do those things off the ball, because he definitely can. But my point is more so that he wants to be involved because he is that sort of player. So he has to be the sort of player that if these two are on the pitch, he'd have to sort of phase away from play, which I don't think is the best part of his game. And that also comes again, if that was a three, João Pedro definitely couldn't really be in there as a fourth, because it's way too much in terms of, again, another player that he can stretch and do sort of that job. But again, he sort of wants to come and link play in these areas. So that would really have to be the lap. And he would be your primary runner, where Estevao and Simmons, if we do that, yeah, that would essentially be what you've got here. And then you'd have to then have a runner, probably someone like Gusto in the team, to almost be your second. Oh, that's a big arrow. As sort of your secondary runner, right? Because you'd need another one. And even with Cucurella, maybe that's the only way it would work, is if you're going really attacking. Too much creativity can be a problem. Yes and no. It's about runners, and I think I've spoke about it so much that people are now clocking onto the idea of how much you need runners. But it's exactly the point of, I'm trying to get across what I mean. That if you have too many players that want to create and they want to come towards the ball, what you can end up with is players in really close proximity, and say this is João Pedro coming in deep as well, sort of Fernandez in here. There's no real outlet ball once you've connected the player, and it takes such precision. Now, of course, you can create through that, because imagine all three of these players in the middle of the pitch. They 1-2 touch, and it all comes together nicely, and they sort of weave their way through 4 or 5 attackers, defenders, and they score a goal. Brilliant. Looks amazing, and everybody is raving about it online. But in order to make this space sort of go from this to this, for that you need players stretching the play, whether that's Gusto, whether that's the lap, whether that's Ganacho, as some people are saying. You need those players to stretch, to open up this place for the creators. And also, it's not just about space, it's also about touches, because when you have 3 players that all want to get on the ball and get sort of control the game, and also you got Fernandez deeper, the touches, and this is something, if you guys haven't read, there's a book called, I think it's How to Win the Premier League by Ian Graham, and it's something about sort of equal opportunity, and there's an exact word for it, and I can't think of it right now, but the idea is that if Palmer is taking all of the ball, he's taking loads of shots, and he's the one sort of getting into these areas, and he's trying to whip balls into the box, like this, then there's going to be less touches for Estevao and less touches for Simmons. So does that take away from their game? Whereas if this was, say, let's say, we've got Neto stretching the pitch. Then all of a sudden, and then Gusto sort of stretching the pitch up here. And you got these three. Now, with these two, now, yes, Palmer in this case on the left side, but you've got two players here that can get a little bit more. They can be like your primary touches, and they get more touches, they get more opportunity. But you've got players that can thrive without touching the ball as such. So it's all about that balance. It really is. So that's why, for me, Estevao and Simmons, pardon me, they're kind of going to be battling this season for that role. Now, of course, different sides of the pitch, essentially, because Estevao more likely to play either on the right or in that right pocket, whereas Simmons more likely to play off the left or in that left pocket. But obviously, there is a chance that Palmer doesn't play in like cup games and things, but Palmer is your main man. So these two players, I think they're going to be against each other a little bit this season. Again, we're going to touch on this in the video later on today, because I think they're sort of your go-to guys as that. Who's the next man up? Who is the next guy to Palmer? And last season that was Enzo. But I think if you drop Enzo deeper, he can be sort of part of that progression group to get to these guys. So he's kind of your high touch volume player back here now. Now, of course, you've got Cole who can sort of pierce the lines as well. Casado, you've got lots of sort of options back there. If I move all that over like this. So he's your deeper progressive guy. But then, yeah, you're two in the pockets here, and then you need your stretch players here. So that's where like Gittins, Garnacho, and all these players are going to come into the fray. So how do people feel about sort of that? And just generally, isn't Estevao a Madueke profile player, though? Not for me at all, no. He's much more of a creator. I think Quenda is much more of a Madueke profile in terms of directness. So what happens when Kendry joins? So again, Kendry would be this sort of player, so he'd be fighting against the likes of Simmons and Fernandez. So he can, like, again, it depends where he plays, but he would want to be in that pocket, essentially. That's why City works so great with KDB, Bernardo as 8, Sterling, Son is when exactly two players that stretch the pitch, they're gone. And then it opens it up for De Bruyne and for Bernardo. And that allows them to use that passing range as well, because they've got players to pick out. It can work, but they'll have to take turns dropping into the central zone. Yeah, of course, it can work, but it would also mean not only do they have to take turns dropping into the central zone, but then it's also about those players then have to also run. Like, let's put it back to what it was. Simmons, Palmer. Let's put it like this. Estevao. Let's say Palmer's the one that's sort of dropping in to get on the ball. That doesn't just mean that these guys have to stay and like sort of be out of the way. They have to do that bit as well, because otherwise it gets too packed. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. But that also means that if then, let's say Simmons wants to do this, and Palmer's sort of got to stay out of the way, Simmons is the one dropping deep, then all of a sudden, now, like I say, Palmer's now got to run away from play, because you don't need that many players sort of coming towards the ball. So it's not just about taking turns. It's also about, can these guys do the opposite role of what they want to do? Can they go away from being like touch heavy, and can they affect the game with their movement as well? Palmer can affect the game with his movement, but it's in a different way to sort of repetitive runs, in my opinion. It's more his clever sort of, what Palmer does really well at points is he notices that he's sort of drawing a double team or he's drawing man marking, and he'll just take himself away from play because he knows that it will open up a huge gap in the middle, which we touched on a lot last season, for other players to drop into to receive the ball. So Palmer is good at, in that sense of the word. Yeah, Simmons, that's a massive point for me. Probably missed this previously, but would this setup be more against teams we're expecting to sit back against us, or would you use this against your Liverpool, Arsenal, Cities? I wouldn't use it against Liverpool, Arsenal, Cities. I definitely think you need an outlet runner against those, unless you're planning on Delap being that as a sole player, but I just don't think that's the case. Again, let's put Pedro back in. Hello, Bruce. What's up? So yeah, again, maybe against teams that are going to sit in, you could, against a back five, maybe, you could technically have these three as your pocket players. You'd have no Fernandez. You'd have double overlapping fullbacks, essentially. And then, yeah, you'd kind of be going from there. That's one way you could do it against a low block team. But again, like maybe that's Hato to have a little bit more pace and power in sort of those runs. There's ways to do it. Again, actually, you'd have another winger. So maybe you'd have, let's say, who did I take out? Enzo. So we'd probably have, should we say Neto? Let's say Gittins. Gittins out wide. So Simmons is like essentially in your Enzo role in this case, but he's becoming that pocket player here. Palmer's as your 10. Estevao's the right winger, coming inside to be that to become that pocket player. And then Gusto's pushing forward. And then actually it means that Cucurella doesn't have to push forward, because so you'd actually end up with something a little bit more like this. In that case, it's not that bad against a back five, but like that's probably the best case that this three can work in between the pockets. But it obviously means that off the ball, Simmons has to basically play as a double pivot player, really. That's the best chance for it to work. And as Sisty's saying here, they can all take long shots versus deep and low blocks, and they can all play those high risk, high reward passes. So there are two things against low blocks that are very, very good to have in these pockets. And this is also something you could see maybe late in a game. Maybe this is Enzo. Maybe this is Enzo to begin with. But then later in the game, it's 0-0. It's 70th minute. You take Fernandez off, you bring Simmons on, and you go more attacking, because now all three of your pocket players are more naturally attacking midfielders rather than having more of a box-to-box number 8 with Enzo Fernandez. So that's another point for sure. Got 93 people in here, by the way, so drop your questions. We're just touching on a few of the tactical aspects of Estevao in today's video, and then we've got a video out in today's stream, and then tonight we've got a video out purely around Estevao. We've got 44 likes, but we've got nearly 100 people in the building, so 75 likes should be easy. Can we run that up now? I'm gonna refresh that again in about 30 seconds to a minute. I want that to be at 75. Please. Where is the Ben Jacobs tweet about Morgan Rogers? Is it new? And also, yes, I do expect to see Delap against low blocks. I think you can use both against low blocks, though, because João Pedro has low block qualities too. So I think it depends what you want to do in the game. Say, like a Brentford, where you're crossing volume and you want to really sustain pressure, then yeah, I think Delap. Sorry, I'm just taking a look to see if this Ben Rogers tweet. Looks like Sesko to United is getting much, much quicker as well. What teams do you think will have the nastiest low blocks and back fives? Burnley. Burnley will play with a big low block next season. Yeah, this is. I'm not saying Neto won't start, Patrick. This is purely because this is sort of an Estevao special, so we're touching on how to use Estevao essentially. Like, let's sort of move it into something a bit more. Because actually, what I think could happen with Estevao. Let's move it into, let's say, a starting team, something like this. If Estevao was playing with Palmer. And then, yeah, you'd have basically the idea that you can make multiple things with this, because it could be Palmer here, Fernandez goes to here, James goes to here. You end up with this. And that would then allow... if I quickly come off here, how should I show it? That basically then allow for that. He can do a touchline winger job. I wouldn't call him a runner in that sense. He sort of wants to get the ball in these touchline areas and then draw players towards him. A little bit like Yamal, in the sense that he wants to attract multiple players towards him and then dump the ball off into the middle. So once multiple markers, so let's say like he almost gets like double teamed, he can then dump that ball to Palmer, and Palmer then has a bit more space. So that's in the sense of being a touchline winger, that's what he can do. But yeah, this rotation and the way that you can create space to let Estevao get into those pockets that he wants to be in, but also to allow Palmer to get into space in these areas to create, because we've seen him create really nicely from those areas when he's not fixed out there and stuck there. So I think that that's a rotation I really, really want to see this season at one point or another. Big up, Connor. I hope you're well. Hope you're good, Thomas. Let's have a quick look at the like target. 54. Come on, guys. We need that up to 75. We've got 90 in the building. That could be easy. This is the tweet about Rodgers. Morgan Rogers to Chelsea is one to watch if Newcastle agree a deal for Jackson. Garnacho is not a priority target, but more of a market opportunity. Why would that be? Morgan Rogers is one to watch if Newcastle agree a deal for Jackson. Interesting. Very interesting, actually. I might do it if it's really interesting. Like, I haven't seen this. All I've seen is a few tweets about Carragher. Maybe I do a reaction to it. And sort of speak on it, because I did that once before and it actually did quite well. Maybe I do that. Is it worth reacting to? Is there like a good chunk of it, or is it literally like a few comments, Patrick? Yeah, I know, Cripsy. Like, let's hope we can see a little bit more of it this season, but just for the funds. Live reaction. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we could do it as a live reaction. Streams could be fun. They could be. I feel like it would do better as a video. I feel like it did better as a video last time. Not worth. Is there not a lot in it, James? Have you seen it? Would you be willing to use Estevao for ISO ball, mainly against fullbacks like Savio? Oh, absolutely. Surely it won't be Rodgers and Simmons. That's what I thought. I thought that if it's going to be one or the other, like, Rodgers can be enough of a left winger to make it work, definitely. But again, he's not really a runner. Like, he's more of a, you'd want him to be that. You'd have to be asking him to be that. But again, it would be a different, like you say, Joel, he can work as a runner because he's got the physical profile. And I do think he's willing to sort of take himself away from play a little bit more often because he's a bit more of a transition threat. Again, he's got a powerful stride. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I hadn't seen that. Is that a new tweet today? Whoever sent that, I can't remember. Was it Patrick or was it somebody else? No, it wasn't Patrick. It was Destroyer. Is there another tweet on? Like, is that recent? Enzo. So he said it was Ben Jacobs. So that's interesting. Very interesting. For 100 people in the building right now, by the way, can we run up the likes? I'm also going to relink the tactics board that we're using, and I'm going to put it in the in the description after we finish, because honestly, let me know anybody that's in the building now. Again, if you've already said, then you don't have to say it again. What do you think of this, like the new tactics board and using this? Because I love it. I think there's so much to use with it. Like I said, this is probably one of my favorite features in terms of field of view. You can get like all teams. Oh no, you can get like loads of different teams and leagues. It's quality, really, really good. So yeah, I've linked it in the chat. Check it out if you want to use it. Lots of different plans for it. I've been lucky enough to be using it for a little while, and it's brilliant. It really is. It really is good. We got to use Enzo as a pivot and Simmons in the left half space. Wait, what's this about? We get to use Enzo as a pivot and Simmons in the left half space. Yeah. Again, this is like not. Again, if you think Football Universe, if you think the video that I made about Simmons, that's exactly what I said, because that would allow Fernandes to be more protected, having Simmons there and having even Gittins who will work back, and then also having Kukurea or Hato to sort of make up that. So yeah, I've said that in the past for sure. Let's go Kaz with another. Kaz keeping it up. That's his third. How do we do that? That's his third power chat in the last sort of 3 streams. So Kaz, he's probably the biggest supporter of the streams. He's always here. So thank you very much. Makes me feel like a real streamer. I always say that because this is like nuts to me that we're getting this many viewers in, this many likes, the community is growing at a great rate, so it's absolutely brilliant. Valson says, hi Connor, this tactics board is much better. Thank you very much. Like I say, here is the link for anybody that wants to check it out. Just go and type that in. Plenty to do with it. Like, so much fun. Not the other guys. No, the other guys donated more. I just spread it out. Yeah, no, it's all good. I just enjoy it. It's like it's like a like I said, it just makes it feel serious. It's not about how much at all. It's about the fact that you're here supporting me. That's what I'm grateful for. Just the fact that you always turn up, you're always here, you're always the first one to be in the streams, like the videos, comment in the videos. Top support. Can't complain whatsoever. Not taking any rumours seriously until we send a bid in. Yeah, it's true. Rodgers stats-wise isn't impressive, but I test he's quite complete. Yeah, he's definitely quite complete. Hope YouTube pays you. It's getting there. It's definitely not anywhere near my sole income at the minute. which is what, again, I'm trying to build towards long term. But I do a lot of, like I say, my work is analysis anyway. I do analysis work for other people, for myself, for websites that I write for. And we're getting some good opportunities now. So hopefully, with the support from you guys, and we can keep going. Yeah, and then YouTube will keep paying, because the more likes we get, the more comments we get, the more views we get. Quite naturally, YouTube pays me more. Happy to help. Let's go, Kaz. First time here, mate, and it will definitely not be my last. Quality stuff. Thank you very much. Why always me? Mario Balotelli. I really appreciate that. Good to have you on board in the community. Let's have a quick. Would you be happy with Rodgers and Xavi, or Xavi and Garnacho? I mean, naturally, I'm going to say Rodgers and Xavi, just because I prefer Rodgers as a player. But in terms of, if you're talking about what makes more sense, I mean, it really is Xavi and Garnacho in terms of what makes sense. But I would say Rodgers and Xavi, just because I like Rodgers. You live on anything else? So the playback, I'll link that as well, just in case people, because we've mentioned it in the last few streams, haven't we? But that, yeah, so I use TikTok. Don't really go live on it, but I'm trying to get better at that, like in terms of using it. Go live on YouTube, go live on, what do you mean, am I live on anything else right now? Destroy. But no, yeah, we use Playback as well. I'll link that at the end. Finally caught a live stream. Big up Connor in the live chat. Let's go, Victor. Let's go. Would you sign a right centre back? And if yes, who would you suggest? I actually wouldn't right now with Chalobah, Tosin, and Fofana. I would wait. If you're gonna, I would wait till the end of the window. I would wait till the end of the window. I could go over how Rodgers, Palmer, and Simmons could work. I think it's very similar to the idea that we've just spoke about with Estevao. Really, it would basically have to be. Let's go. Let's just put it into it. Oh. Let's say that's the back four. Let's say that's your pivot. Let's say Palmer would probably have to be on the right. Simmons would have to be. Where's Simmons? Simmons here. And let's go. Rodgers. Like this. We'll talk about that in a sec. Also, how do you know that Delap and Pedro will be better than Nico? How do we know? We don't really. Like I said, there is a presumption that Nico's third choice, and I actually agree with this. I don't think it's as black and white as him being the third choice. I think he'd be used in certain games. Again, if you haven't watched the video from yesterday, where we speak about sort of having the different options, I actually think Jackson would get used a fair amount, because I think certain game plans are actually quite suited for Jackson. I think Brighton last year, I think he was perfect for that game. So I think there's a lot of things. Definitely, don't get me wrong. I think Pedro and Delap have shown enough, and they're more of what we needed right now. So I think that there's sort of an understanding they probably start the season a little bit ahead of Jackson after his few red cards and mistakes. But I just think that the idea of having that big group of sort of strikers is that you don't actually have an out-and-out starting number 9 unless one of them is in red hot form. I think the idea is that you can change sort of the dynamics. One can play 60 minutes, one can play 30 minutes. And it depends on game plan. I think that's what's so great about having a group of 3 strikers where all of the quality of them are actually quite close together. I think that's brilliant. How did you get a job as a writer for these websites? So a few of them reached out to me, because, again, I've just been doing this work since I left uni, and did sort of performance analysis with a few clubs and stuff through uni and all these bits. I then went into sort of YouTube and Twitter mainly to begin with, and sort of writing and making sort of articles. And I got picked up by a few places. So Squawker is one that I work for quite religiously at the minute. I've worked for quite a few, like Caught Offside, Tribal Football. I now do work on the JLA Substack. So again, where this is coming from, this JLA board here, we do work on the Substack. So again, if you have Substack, go subscribe to that. Maybe I can put that in the description as well, along with the tactics board, once this stream ends. And then, yeah, there's a few others. And then there's some sort of private work that I do as well that I don't publish myself, but I do the work. So, yeah, obviously I can't really say that, who it's for. But yeah, doing writing jobs for quite a few people, and then obviously doing my own thing with YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff, Twitter. So yeah, just see where it goes, and it's going well. So thanks for the support. Where do you see us finishing this season? Love the channel, keep it up. Thank you, Callan. I'm gonna say third. Just it's tough, isn't it? It's tough, just because I think there's all four teams have strengthened this summer: Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City. I think that could be sort of that should be your top four. It's just in what order that comes in. As long as we get top four again. I know, like, as long as we don't scrape it. What I want is a sizable upgrade. Like, we breach 70 points, we're comfortable in the top four, and we get a cup run. That's my sort of idea for a successful season this year. Okay, we're getting a lot of chats in, so I'll try and speed this up. Do you think a fit Fofana raised the chances of winning the league? Absolutely. If you can keep him fit for a whole season, I think this partnership, Cole and Fofana, is top. Hi, Connor. Do you think our youth system will decline due to the fact that the pathway looks a bit blocked? Not really, no, because I think, if anything, this is probably one of our, like, in terms of the scholars that have just came through, this is probably one of our best. It's probably one of our best sort of scholarship groups in years. I mean, yeah, pathway being a bit blocked, sure, but now it's getting to the point where some of these players that we're talking about, like your Palmers, your Fernandez, Casado, like, you're talking 23, 24 now. So those players coming through, like Kavuma McQueen, for example, you're talking like 16, 15-year-olds. Them coming through, that's nearly a 10-year gap. So, like, I know it seems, and I know that, again, you're bringing in sort of your Gittins, your Sugos. Who else is, like, really young that we brought through the door this summer? I'm probably missing one. The Lap, maybe, but I mean, even him, like, 21. Is he 21, 22? But yeah, like, I don't think it will sort of affect it too much. That's a chat going on between you two. Con, would you agree to the idea that Garnacho is like a left wing Pedro Neto? To an extent, in terms of, like, intensity, yeah, but even more so of an off-ball runner and getting into those goal-scoring areas. More of a goal-scoring winger than a creator of Neto. Jackson is definitely valuable, but we need to cash in. Like I say, if you can get 65 to 70 million, then I hear it. But I just think I just like him as a profile. I really do. Omega is coming. Yeah. This is where that makes sense. If Omega becomes that backup and we get him in at a good price, then I'm happy with that, because I like Omega in a similar way to the way I like Jackson. I think they offer similar sort of qualities, similar, like, profiles of striker, at least. Jackson being better, but hey, what do you think of Vardy as a third choice striker? I just don't think it's needed. Just don't. I know. Have you ever worked for a club? I've worked sort of within a few. Yeah. I sort of chose the route to not go down that route, even though I probably could have, because I wanted to sort of touch on, like, Chelsea's obviously, like, my true passion. I want to be able to sort of cover Chelsea as much as possible, but I also want to be able to touch on, like, I want to be able to cover all teams. So yeah, like, I've done bits, but I've decided to come towards this end of the content / media realm and see where we go from there. Big up Henry. We let Rio go. Yeah, I know, that's tough. That's the tough one. What are your thoughts about? Okay, that's between you guys. Mid-table teams are actually weakened. Quite a few of them. Yeah, you got Bournemouth, of course, lost a few players. Who else are we talking about? That's lost a few. You got a few teams that haven't bought at all either, like Fulham, not strengthened at all yet. Forest technically weakened. Well, they've lost Alanga, they've brought in Ndoye. So yeah, but I just don't think it's going to be too different. But I think that they'll just have a natural drop off this year. I don't see them doing that well. McQueen is tops. Really, really exciting player. Big up for the JLA new board. Yes, like I've been saying today, it's a board I've been using for a little while now for, like, other bits of work that I do on the Substack. But it's so good, so good. I'm going to leave a link. I've linked it twice, but I'm going to link it again for one last time in the description once this ends, and then in the Estevao video out today, we're going to have that again as well. So don't miss the Estevao video, because I'm very excited about that. Don't miss that, and show your support on that one later on today as well. We're probably going to go for another 10 to 15 minutes. Let me have a quick refresh, see what we're at. What exactly did you study? So I did sports. So to begin with, I did sports coaching and sports science. And then I went down the avenue of performance analysis specific. So I did sort of my final year, all sports analysis, all football based. club specific, and yeah, worked with a few people that work in clubs, analysts, all that stuff. Third year was very much performance analysis based. So that was sort of it was coaching into the analysis route is what I did. Jackson has clinic asked. I keep that's like your guys' chat going on. Thoughts on Rabaj? Haven't watched as much of him as I've watched of McQueen, but looks very exciting. Yeah, somebody asked me to have. Oh, that was you that asked me, wasn't it? Yeah, let's talk about it. If this was to be the case, Rogers to come in like instead of Garnacho, as Ben Jacobs not really alluded to, but like there's a tweet about it, so let's talk about it. It would probably have to be with these three, but in a similar way, maybe Rogers becomes your touchline winger, and then you've got these two, and sort of that again probably have to be Gusto to sort of provide that width. So this would be one way that you get all three in the team. Again, is there enough of a runner with Rogers? What you could have that works quite nicely with those two on that side of the pitch is some nice rotations between the two, because Simmons isn't afraid to sort of make that run, and Rogers also can do that off-ball sort of run in there. So yeah, the quality could work, definitely. But do you have enough runners? Maybe instead of Pedro, you'd need it to be Delap, so that minimum you've got Gusto and Delap who can maybe cheat right in that sense to create that. So that could work if Rogers is sort of willing to be that, allow Simmons to be more of the touch-heavy player on that side of the pitch. The other way it could work is, of course, like I said, with the sort of three pocket players, you'd then maybe have Delap, you'd have Gusto, and you would have... How did we have it? I think it would mean no Fernandez, which would mean Gitten's probably out here. But again, that means one of Rogers or Simmons is technically next to Caicedo out of possession. So the out of possession for this, not ideal. Maybe you'd want that to be... Yeah, I'm not overly keen on that, because as well, it means Palmer's on the outside of the block, Simmons is in the middle, which isn't bad. But you'd probably want Palmer in the middle, and you probably want this to be Simmons so that he can drop in alongside Caicedo when out of possession. So the main way is probably the way that I just showed, with Rogers having to almost occupy width is more likely. How would you guys feel about that? It's like, yeah, for me, it's Rogers is much more in the conversation with Simmons than he is with Garnacho, is how I see it. Where's Enzo? He's there. Yeah. Do you think Kenda is a left or right winger? Definitely a right, but he can play on the left. I think I'm equally as excited for him as Estevao. He's a crazy athlete. That's exactly what he is. Crazy athlete, which is something that we could do with in those wing areas. Like, obviously, Gittens is somebody I consider a crazy athlete as well. Neto is in his own sense, but in terms of power, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either. But somebody brought it up, so I thought we'd have a look. Honestly, I love Harvey Elliott. I think Newcastle should be going for him, but yeah, I'm huge on him. No, I don't agree. I don't think he is overrated. I think he's very, very good. But I think he needs to be a primary creator in a sort of next step down team. So Newcastle for me would be perfect, where he can be that primary creator. Maybe like Villa, if they lost Rodgers, like that sort of move. I think Leipzig's actually an okay move for him. Missed most of the stream. It's all good. Go catch up on it after the stream ends. And then also we've got an Estevao video out later today. So lots of content for you guys today. Which academy players do you think might get minutes? He definitely likes Walsh. Antwi maybe in terms of being a bit more of an overlapping fullback. Yeah, maybe. I'm assuming you mean this season. I mean, Josh isn't an academy grad anymore. So like he'll get minutes hopefully if he stays at Chempong. But yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe if Lavia plays not Enzo. Is that with Rogers being a touchline winger, you mean? Pardon me. Where are we at? How much is Wirtz better than Simmons? I mean, he is better than Simmons. Again, they've got different qualities. I think Wirtz is just, he's got a better sort of, his passing is just more crisp, more often. Simmons is more sort of shifty in, like he's probably the most agile player that was in the Bundesliga last year for me in terms of in those tight spaces. So Wirtz is better, but again, if Simmons gets to like, he can really explode to the level that people expected him to in terms of like raw talent. There's probably not too much between them raw talent wise, but Wirtz is just he's just proven it already that he's already got the consistency, especially when he's on his like the top of his game. to just create and be that sort of main focal point in attack. Why get Rodgers? Wouldn't that block Paez? I don't think they've given up on him, though. But you can say that about Simmons if you're talking about blocking a path. But Rodgers is not ready to leave. I think even if he's leave, we need to pay a huge amount. Yeah, like I say, we're only talking about it because somebody said that Ben Jacobs tweeted about it. Fab on Elliott. Wait, has Fab said Elliott's... Is he gone? Is he gone? Is he gone? Let's have a quick look. RB Leipzig have started discussing contract terms with Elliott. Very interesting. Very interesting. Do you think Reece can play as a right centre-back, not tucking in from right-back? Not really in a 4. Not for me. Just don't think it works with Colwell as the left centre-back. I don't think there's enough aggression in that back two, so no, not really for me. Should be Nico bring as many things to the team. I think you guys are talk. Yeah, so you guys talking. Think Vert's mind is his best attribute. Yeah, for sure. How he reads the game and how his sort of his IQ. Who is better between Rodgers and Simmons overall? In terms of overall quality, I think Simmons. But I think for the fit of the team, I would have gone Rodgers initially because I think the power that you need in the Premier League is so important. Now that we've got Gittins, I've made it clear I'm now so much bigger on Simmons that we've got Gittins in the door. If we hadn't got Gittins, then I would have been not as high on Simmons at all. But because we've got that pace and power in Gittins, I'm now much more open to the idea of Simmons. This was an Estevao stream. We've gone on to Simmons more. But I think it's because so many people are excited about the idea of that getting sort of done. What do you think about Sesko? I like Sesko. I think his ceiling is ridiculously high. I think he's a project striker at the minute for United. So, like, is it enough? I do think with Cunha and Burmo, I think the need for him to be the guy at such a quick sort of level isn't as big. So I do actually think he'll do okay. And I think it's a lot of money, but he is a high ceiling player. So yeah, it's tough. Do you expect this season as in what range in the Prem? How many goals for who? A player or for Chelsea, Joshua? He can play everywhere. That's a good point. Connor, I genuinely think selling Jackson is a mistake. The directors need to stop thinking about profit for once and think about what is better for the team for once. He brings so many qualities. I do think it would be a mistake to sell him. I do. I agree. For Chelsea, how many goals, like in the Prem next season? What did we score last year? What was our tally? It was like 60 something, no? So look. Last year we scored 64. So with the strikers through the door, hopefully not having a sort of as much of a lull in the middle of the season, I'd want to be hitting 70. Yeah, let's say 70. A little bit more, but not because we're not at like an absolute highest. That would be more. That would be less than City, just about more than Arsenal, but quite a few less than Liverpool. Yeah, 70 isn't a bad sort of tally. I think if everybody sort of spreads the goals out. Every time we have won the league, we had 3 strikers. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level, of course. Like, I mean, you're thinking Loic Remy was one of those strikers at one point, so it depends. Who I actually think did well for Chelsea, by the way. Loic Remy, he was serviceable, did the job. But yeah, I understand that people think like with the Lap, Simmons and João Pedro, somebody's going to get unhappy. But maybe they think Jackson won't deal with it well. But if you think that Maresca can handle Jackson and sort of if he's going to have a tantrum, like if that's what people's worries are, then like if Maresca can handle that, having all 3 of them, it's not a bad thing. And even if you end up having to sell later down the line next season, if one of them comes along and says, this isn't working for me, say Jackson said next season, like, yeah, what do you call it? Next season, yeah, well, I don't want to sit on the bench and be a secondary choice and only playing games that suit my skill set. I want to play every week. And to be fair, I also think he'll do very, very well for Newcastle as that Isaac sort of replacement. So, except we rotate massively. I think statistically, Jackson edges both of them, Delap and Pedro. So there's a risk in selling Jackson for the trade-off of Pedro, but what's football without risk? Don't get me wrong. I think Pedro is going to smash it. I do. I think he's going to be huge for us this year. And I do think he'll be the number one striker for a little while. And I think Delap sort of is the opposite. So I do see people why people think that Jackson's the third choice, but I just think it's so much to do with, like Samuel saying, the amount we rotate and having more squad options, like Thomas says here, to be able to sort of adhere to different game plans. Jackson is our best runner in behind of that front three. The lap is a runner, but this is what like a few people sort of like, this is what I got as a response when I said I'm not too keen on selling Jackson. The lap is a runner, but for me, he's more clever with his runs and how he makes them, whereas Jackson is less clever and he can find himself offside. He's so relentless, and like I could literally do 100 arrows because he's so relentless that he will just continue to stretch the pitch. And that's what I like about Jackson's profile, is he's more relentless in that sense. And like you just said here, Maresca likes Jackson. So yeah, maybe it is to do with the FFP because they want to make the sales before they bring in Simmons as well, don't they? So how do we have no Chelsea legends working for Chelsea, working with this young team? Yeah, I think they're trying to go away from that because I think that's been something of the past where you sort of hire what you know, but sometimes hiring what you know and sort of acting with emotions isn't always the best way. Because again, I'm guilty of that. When we're talking about Lampard, so what was that, 2018? I want to say Lampard. Like I was so blind to the fact of like Lampard's tactics and like how he sort of set us up and like the flaws with it, because I was just so infatuated by the fact that Frank Lampard was our manager. Like, and I was guilty of being clouded by emotion, which I think has actually helped me in the last sort of 5 years, sort of moving forward with how I sort of analyse football. He's sort of in and around the academy, but he's not like, it's not a permanent role, I'm pretty sure, with how they say it. Which is probably a better way to do it, right, Patrick? Because then he's not like, he's still there as like a leader, but he's not really sort of forcing opinion. Or was like, forcing opinion is the wrong word, the wrong wording, but like he's not too in charge of like the decisions and things that are involved. He's sort of just like, he's there as an opinion. Eddie Howe polishes players very well. I think he might be the best in the league at this. Jackson will do well. I think he'll do very well if he goes there as well. So a quick refresh. We're over the hour mark now. We've got nearly 95 people, so we're doing well for likes and stuff. If we can rack that up we're on 80 likes right now. If we can rack that up to 90 plus in the next 2 minutes, then maybe I'll go for another 10, 15, because I would like to get the like tally to 100. So if we can get it up whilst we've got nearly 100 people in here, well, 90 odd, if we can get that up and over 90, then I'll go for another 10 minutes answering questions, because I'd like to get it to 100 likes. It'd be very good if we can get the stream to 100 likes before we even end the stream. Then it just does really well when we come off it. So happy days, really. Yeah, just keep going for a few questions, and then I need to get off and do the what do you call it? I need to get off and record the Estevao video, which will be out tonight. Also, that's another thing with everybody in the stream. What does everybody think of the editing? What does everyone think? Honest opinions of the editing, because I'm literally, it's really not my forte, and I'm just trying to do a little bit just to make, almost more so to make the intros a little bit more digestible, and then we sort of go over to the tactics board stuff after. So don't get me wrong, I don't think it's brilliant. Like, I don't think it's good editing, but does it add to the video? Have you enjoyed the little bit of editing that there has been? Because yeah, I'm trying to learn it a little bit. It was great for the Maresca vid. Thank you, Seb. Yeah, and Bruce saying he really liked it. The comments I've had on it are really good. So yeah, like I'm not gonna get to the point where I'm editing full sort of 15-20 minute videos with every single frame being edited, because it would just take too much of my time I don't have. Hopefully we get to a point one day where maybe we can hire an editor to make the videos even better. But considering I'm only doing those edits myself and really quickly, as long as people are liking it in the videos and it's sort of helping a little bit with those intros and retention, then it seems to be doing a good job, which I like. All we care about is the great content, not the editing. If you know who you are editing, doesn't matter. But I think if you want to get more people on the channel, the editing has to improve. Yeah, I think that's true. I do. I agree with that. And that's sort of why I'm trying to bring it in. Because I agree with the idea that I think editing keeps more people and it brings more people in. which is crazy that we've even built the sort of following that we've got here purely on 0 edit. So that is kind of crazy to me. We're on 85 likes. Let's get that up to 90 if we can. We'll probably be ending the stream in a minute. I might go over and do a tactics talk on Playback in the next few hours, though, if people are interested. Would people want to see that and be able to come up to stage and have a chat and things? I think I'm bigger on content than flashing lights. Maybe consider showing player comparisons too, like Playback does. Yeah, I've done that in a few of my videos now where I've sort of added like player charts and stuff, more statistics where possible. Yeah, I'm looking to add, like I've been doing that in a few videos where I'm trying to sort of visualize stats on screen with some graphs or some like player wheels and things. Enzo deeper to help with progression. Palmer stay high and receive close to goal. I love it. Controversial opinion. If we don't get Simmons, I'm open to keeping Kunku. Seems that Maresca's in that same boat. It does. It seems like he's not too sort of, yeah, like he doesn't disagree with that, I don't think. I think he's kind of willing. So I always struggle to find where I can link this Playback. Where can I link the Playback? Got it. This is the Playback for anybody interested. Join that room. And then, yeah, whenever we do streams on there, you guys can actually come up to stage and ask the questions yourself. If we get 4, 5, 6 people on the stage, then it allows you guys to have a conversation between you as well. Like, I'll be sort of there to monitor, but like it also allows me to hop in and out. You guys can sort of have conversations amongst yourselves. I can get guests on. Yeah, we can do a lot of stuff with the Playback. So it's something that we can have a look at. Telling y'all, Malik Tillman would have been a great option for that Simmons role. Yeah, in terms of essential carrier, I agree. Him at Leverkusen, he could be playing against us on Friday for Leverkusen. Vivekej, I agree. What was that to do with? Oh, the controversial opinion. I'm right selling Jackson, but our fans are doing too much. Like, why do people want him at United? Yeah, I actually think he do so well at United as well. I really do. Which teams will we be keeping an extra eye on next season? For me, it's Como, Sunderland, Strasbourg. So they're 3 that are on my list. I mean, Como and Strasbourg would they're just automatically were on it anyway. Let me get my list up. To be fair, I need to add more to it because I've been looking the last few days. The current list is basically Chelsea, Sunderland, Brighton, Como, Parma, Bologna, Bayer Leverkusen. Purely, I want to see what Erik ten Hag does. Stuttgart, Hoeneß's 3rd season. Marseille, naturally with De Zerbi, Liam Rossigna, and then boring ones, but Barca and Madrid. Hansi Flick 2nd season versus Xabi Alonso 1st season. I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch. And then a few sort of outlandish ones. You've got like Flamengo, Filipe Luis, Lech Poznan, and Union St. Gillow. There are a few. But again, like to be fair, like teams like Bayern, like I will just naturally watch, but I'm not like keeping an extra close eye on them. But like even like the Prem, like I haven't named with the Prem. I just will naturally be watching the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. Like that just will naturally happen. So I don't really add them to the list. I know I added Real Madrid and Barca, but I think with La Liga this year, I'm just so zoned in on the top 2 teams. I'm not as bothered about everything else going on around it as much as I have been in prior years. I think this year with the La Liga, I'm very focused on those 2. Right, the viewers are sort of dropping off a little bit. We've got in and around 90 likes, which is brilliant. On your way out, if you haven't liked, please do drop a like. I'm going to go record the Estevao video and upload that later today, so don't miss that. Support that as much as you can, even with just a random comment to help the algorithm, as it all helps out. So yeah, all that stuff, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thank you guys for the support today in today's stream. Thanks Kaz again for the power chat. The JLA Tactics board will be in the description. All that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.